Hello everyone, you have entered the battle phase. It is I, the Midnight Bard, your favorite bard, and I'm here for a very special episode. This is our year-end episode, and it's a very different episode from what we normally do because today it's all about being thankful. I want to thank you, the listeners, for having been part of our journey on 2024, and I hope that you'll keep joining us for more and more stuff on 2025. We've actually noticed that the podcast has been growing steadily over the past year, where we entered what I call our second season, and it's something that makes me very happy to see, and I couldn't be more thankful to all of you who take the time to listen to the podcast whenever it airs. We're on every major platform now. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube Podcasts, Samsung Podcast. I didn't even know that was a thing. But yeah, so we're noticing that people are listening, and we wanted to take this moment to say thank you very much for making 2024 the year that it was. And going forward into the future for 2025 with big hopes. Seikro and I will be attending SAC Anime. We'll be hosting a panel there for the Battleface Podcast Live. So if you're going to be in the Sacramento area on January 4th, 2025, be sure to stop by, say hello, and we'll be hosting an open question and answer round where you'll have the opportunity to tell us your favorite title, or your least favorite title, I don't know. And, we'll add it to our list of things that we should read in 2025. You might even see an episode about it in the near future, so that's exciting. So this is an episode where I basically asked the boys to tell me what their favorite moment of the podcast in 2024 was. And I'd like to go ahead and start by saying that my favorite moment is the way that this came together. Initially, when I started this podcast, I started it with Derringer, and it was going to be a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast strictly. As we went on, however, I noticed that I wouldn't be able to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Or card games indefinitely because it was something that, although I enjoy, it's a very fun hobby, I enjoy playing the games more than I enjoy talking about them. And I kind of decided to kind of start shifting gears on what the podcast would be. And I just kept thinking, well, I could talk almost indefinitely about anime. I'm a huge fan, have been a huge fan for a long time, since my childhood. I actually watched like Knights of the Zodiac when I was a kid, like 6 years old. Knights of the Zodiac, Dragon Ball, I mean, you name it. I very well versed in the classics. But because of that, I grew up with this medium, and seeing it go from something very niche to something so mainstream is so exciting. Anime has become very mainstream. Anime conventions are always packed with people, with both old fans and new fans. Manga has been doing really well in the market. I mean, American comics are having to adapt basically to keep up with it. And it's just so exciting to see, having been a fan for such a long time. I mean, this is basically like, I don't know, like everyone coming around to think that all of the things that you thought were cool when you were younger are actually 100% cool, and they were wrong for telling you that they weren't. I'm not bitter, I promise. But anyway, whenever I first started what I'm calling season 2 of this podcast, where I decided that what it was going to be about was we're going to read a title and we're going to discuss it at length. We're going to discuss the characters, the plot, the tropes, all kinds of themes, and basically anything that we could wrap our head around regarding the title. I thought that I was going to be doing this on my own because Derringer, unfortunately, not a huge fan of anime. He watches some here and there, but it wasn't something that he was really vibing with. And so I approached Gamma and Helix, and I kind of thought that they were going to tell me that they were too busy because both of them have a lot going on, Gamma being a content creator and Helix having a very demanding job. However, they both said, yeah, we'll do that. And, I told them that we were starting with Kaiju number 8, which both of them were really interested in. So they said, sure, let's do it. Seikro came around roughly at around the same time. He approached me because he wanted to start a gaming channel, that we called Gamers Playing Games, which is on YouTube, Gamers Playing Games TV. And, so he approaches and he says, let's start a gaming channel. I said, okay. And at the time I was talking to Helix and Gamma also about the podcast. So I figured, well, sure, shoot your shot. Hey, Seikro, we're going to be reading Kaiju number 8 and discussing it for a podcast. Would you like to be a part of that? And Seikro, being a very successful YouTuber, I thought he was going to say no. And I was so surprised when he says, I love reading things and telling my opinion about them. And I said, this is incredible. I can't believe that this is coming together so nicely. This is excellent. So very fun, and I'm excited that it worked out as well as it did. We had Sayu join later on because we run in the same voice acting circles. And so one day he said something to the effect of like, I would love to connect with people that see me online and that we haven't talked yet. And I told him, dude, we are in all the same Discord servers. I know you for a long time. I would love to connect with you. And, like if you want, if you have time, would you like to come on a podcast and talk to us about your favorite titles? And he says, sure. And I tell him, well, tell me which titles you like. Tell me which ones you would like to talk about. And he said, oh man, I really would love to talk about Kaguya-sama Love is War, which at the time we were actually in the talks of making that episode because Seikuro wanted to talk about Oshi No Ko. And I said, on one condition, if we talk about Kaguya-sama, since they're both by the author Aka Akasaka. And so whenever Sayu hears this and he's like, oh, we're talking about Kaguya, I'm in. It was really exciting. And just the way that it all came together. And working with these guys has been a blast. I feel just very humbled, because it is something that I'm just beyond excited that it took place. And I'm looking forward towards growing the podcast even more in 2025. It is something that is constantly on my mind, that I want to reach more people who want to read and talk about their favorite anime, that want to tell us their favorite titles, that want to tell us titles that they read and it did something for them, like it really touched a note, or or they didn't like it as much as everyone else as everyone else says that they liked it. We want to hear what you're reading, what you're watching, and why it's important to you. And it's ultimately what this podcast was all about, because I'm a huge fan of this medium. I wanted to read titles, and I wanted to tell friends why I loved it. And so that's basically how this got started. And I want to grow the podcast even more. I want to reach as many people as possible, and so that, as we grow, we can do more with you. Even though I can't really talk about card games as much as I would like to, it's something that I still want to do. I really want to get Derringer back on this channel so that we could do something together, on a live stream so that we can talk to the fans. I would be all about that. And so it's definitely something that I'm looking to get done here. I'm also love to keep working with Seikuro on Gamers Playing Games. It's something that is it started off as something that we didn't know what we wanted it to be, and it's definitely taking on a life of its own. So that's enough for me. You guys know how I have a tendency to rant. So now what I'm going to do is I asked the boys to tell me their favorite moments of this podcast this year. And Seikuro, unfortunately, is a little under the weather. So because of that, he can't actually tell us himself. But he sent me a script that he wanted me to read for all of you. So today we're going to be reading Seikuro's thing. And he wanted me to read it in his voice. I told him that I would do my best impression of him. However, he's got such a unique voice. I don't think that I would be able to do that. I don't think I'd be able to do that for any of these guys. So, without further ado, let's pretend I'm Seikuro for the next however many minutes, and here we go. Reflections. 2024 with the podcast was a learning experience for sure. As I've fallen sick, like I do at the end of every year, I couldn't record anything, but not to despair, for Bart has informed me that he will be reading this all in my voice. I'm sorry to disappoint. It's a quaint end to the year as I write him something that feels wordy and verbose. I don't know why he decided to say it like that. Suddenly it feels like I'm reading Edgar Allan Poe or Charles Dickens or something. Anyway, my favorite episode we recorded this year was probably the Oshi No Ko episode. It was actually one of our better performing episodes, too. I noticed that a lot of you really, really enjoyed the Oshi No Ko discussion. I had the most fun talking about everything that I enjoyed about the show, asking questions of the rest of the group, and semi-leading the discussion. It's something that I actually would like to try going forward in the future, that whenever it's something that was recommended by one of the guys, I would like for them to lead the discussion. And it's something that we toyed around with a little bit here and there. But it feels like it needs a little fine-tuning. My favorite moment of this year's recordings was definitely when we discussed our recommended anime. that's actually where I recommended Oshi No Ko, and we actually got to watch it together. And that is such a nice thing that ended up happening the way it did. He recommended Oshi No Ko on that episode, and we all ultimately ended up watching it together. So that was really nice. It's exciting that happened. Actually, I'm beginning to think that that's something that we should do every year. The Bocchi the Rock episode was also up in my top 3. I I hear that Bocchi the Rock is getting a season 2, and I cannot wait to revisit that madness. That was such an excellent anime. For next year, we should finally talk about Naruto. Naruto seems to be Seikro's One Piece. Like where One Piece is for me, the thing that I will die hard tell everyone that is great. It seems like Seikro is all about the Naruto. We need a Dragon Ball Z guy in here or a Bleach guy. Given since we're sticking to like our big Shonen Jump titans here. For next year, we should finally talk about Naruto. I need to unload some useless knowledge and talk about the effect the anime had on the early internet, especially on places like DeviantArt and Guy Online. Oh my gosh, that is a throwback and a half. That place collapsed in on itself like the old Roman Empire. Goodness. Good golly. I haven't heard about Guy Online for years. The Wild West of the internet. Yeah, no kidding. The Wild West of the internet days. We should do an episode on Guy Online too. Oh my god, he beat me to it. I was just thinking that. Final thoughts. God damn it. Memcho is me. He will need to explain that. I don't understand. Which makes me best girl. Well, if that's the explanation, sure. 100%. Happy New Year, all. Indeed. And moving on, Brother Gamma did manage to record something that he wanted me to play for you guys, and I'll be interjecting as, commentary, just like I did with Seikro's letter, because I feel like that's only fair. So here we go. This is Brother Gamma.
Hello there, Battle Phasers. Gamma here.
I would like to interject and say that Battle Phasers is a working title. We don't know what to call our fan base yet, but we're open to suggestions. If you guys have something that you would like for us to call you, I'm all ears.
Your boy over there, Bar, he asked me to, and all of us, to just tell you what our favorite episode of the year is. And with that, I will have to say it will be, most likely it'll be the Kagurabachi episode. We were all in sync. We knew exactly what was going on. Everybody's just on the same page.
Now, there is something to be said here that Gamma says that we were all on the same page. For you longtime listeners, it is notoriously the case that whenever we agree to read a manga together, it's usually one of us will either have read the thing previously, so they'll be way ahead, or one of us will get super eager and read everything that they can, completely going past the mark that we set as the place where we should all meet.
Which that was one thing that I had to do as a resolution for myself on the channel. I had to stop getting ahead of everybody with a manga or show. Especially when I like a show, I just want to go and binge as much as I want.
I just want to stop in here and say something else. It's like, we don't mind if you read ahead, Gamma. You can't be acting smug on us because you are ahead. Anyway.
Sadly, some of the mangas that we done before, stuff that I binge watched before. That's the whole reason that you may have heard me going like, oh my god, gotta keep quiet. Like, no spoilers.
No spoilers should honestly be like the tagline for our show now, given how many spoilers we get. It's like, no spoilers, but honestly, spoilers.
Try not to spoil anything for them so that way they enjoy it. That's just me. But yeah, like I was saying, Kagurabachi, favorite episode. Oh, and Darker Than Black was my top other episode that I liked. That was a series that I watched before. And sadly, that one was the curse episode.
I'd like to point out that it wasn't our only cursed episode. The Great Mage Returns After 4,000 Years was notoriously difficult to complete, mostly because it had been recommended to me for so long that I really wanted to like it. But we agreed to go up to page 20 and at that point, I didn't feel like I really understood what it was about. So, deciding to give it the benefit of the doubt, I said, well, let's just finish the first season of it, which was 90 chapters. We had the most difficult time getting to 90 chapters. We really did. There was other cursed episodes besides that, but Darker Than Black is the most infamous one, I would say.
My goodness, it was so cursed to the fact that we postponed it due to not everybody having watched it or stuff happening with the show. So we put it together. It was a great show, and I actually like the fact that somebody was on the same page as me. We all enjoy it, y'all enjoy it, and that's the main thing of the show. Main thing of the show is for us as the boy to do something together that all of us enjoy.
I 100% agree with this sentiment.
Hopefully in the future you'll be enjoying our show as the battle facers.
Like I said, we'll see about that. It's my understanding that nicknames have a tendency to just kind of take a life of their own.
And soon, I believe next year, you'll be able to see both Bard and Sacro live on Sacramento Comic Con. Be sure to go ahead and get your ticket and stop by. Say hi to them. Let them know, hey, I love your show. Yeah, say hi to them. Get your autograph, and I'm sure that they'll be delighted. Oh, yeah. Don't forget this, though. Once you go there and you see Bard and Sacro, make sure to ask the major question. Bard, why do you like Toxica so much?
I was waiting for this to come up. It is inevitable that every episode where we just go off the rails, it always comes back to like my questionable taste in women. I don't know how this happened, but it's just a show tradition at this point. So yeah, I guess yeah. If you meet me live, ask me about it.
And if you happen to be a Toxica, give a wink to Bard.
Do not do this. Please do not do this.
You at least give you a wave, like hi.
Well, he's not wrong about that. I will say hi.
Well, and I do hope that y'all get whatever you want, whatever you desire for New Year, just comes your way. Don't let anything else there bother you. Just keep doing your thing. Take your vitamin D so that way hopefully you're like a sunlight, since times are gonna be darker coming up.
That sounds ominous, but I think he's referring to winter. so, so definitely get out, get some sunlight, take your vitamins, make sure that your health is in good order, because you know what? We want you healthy, we want you happy.
Take your vitamin D so that way you enjoy it. Exercise a little bit. Hey, I need to exercise. I gained way too much weight this year.
Yeah, you're not alone there, buddy.
Hope to see y'all next year. Drop in on the podcast, telling us what you like of the episode or recommending us some comics. Not comics. Recommending us some manga or shows to watch.
Although we're not opposed to you recommending comics. As it turns out, a lot of us here are fans of American comics as well. I'm a huge Superman fan personally. And Spider-Man too, like they're like my favorite heroes. They're really mainstream, so I mean whatever, right? But I guess if we're talking non-mainstream, I'm a huge fan of Witchblade, Image Comics Witchblade, fantastic. The new run is pretty solid. I enjoy it. Sacro is a huge DC fan, and Gamma is a huge fan of Spawn, which is weird. And I say weird, but what I mean is, you know, like I've never met another Image Comics fan in person, and I hang out in comic book stores all the time. That's where I go to locals to play card games. So you know, it's maybe it's just where I live. Who knows? And Sayu is a Marvel fan. He's a huge fan of the MCU, and he's an aspiring screenwriter. So he takes a lot of inspiration from Marvel movies. It's great.
Which will be delighted to watch. Let me pass it on to our favorite bard. Y'all take care. I'm gonna continue my vacation later.
Alrighty, and one last one here. Sayu was busy with some schoolwork, so he also sent me a little blurb to read to you guys. So here we go. Hey everyone, Sayu here from the Battle Face podcast. I like that intro, that is excellent. Happy New Year to all of you. Hope it's off to an awesome start. Looking back on the past year, we had so many great episodes, but I gotta say, the ones where we talked about video games really stood out. Bard got us all hyped up for Zenless Zone Zero, which I'm still thinking about. I couldn't stop talking about Silent Hill 2 Remake because, let's be honest, it's iconic. And Seikro brought all the energy for Dragon's Dogma 2. Those conversations were such a blast, and it reminded me of how much I love geeking out with the crew. And of course, we had some amazing anime and manga discussions too. Talking about Kaguya-sama Love is War and Oshi No Ko was definitely a highlight for me. We're all massive fans of Aka Akasaka, so getting to break down his work and share our thoughts with you was so much fun. There's just something about the way he tells stories that hits different, you know? I would have to agree with that. I'm a little concerned because I hear that the ending to Oshi No Ko wasn't that great. Like, benefit of the doubt, I'm going to read it. We're going to see where it takes me. Looking ahead, I'm excited to dive into more Kagurabachi and hopefully discover some new manga gems along the way. Hey, you know what? And we're hoping to discover some of the ones that you guys recommend, so I hope that you guys will suggest a few for us to check out. Plus, I'd love for us to try out even more cool stuff as a podcast, whether that's new formats, new topics, or just exploring to keep things fresh. About that, we've actually been discussing that too. We got a couple of different formats that I've been tossing around with the guys, so be on the lookout for that. I think that you guys will really enjoy it. But honestly, the best part of this whole thing has been you guys. Thank you so much for all the support, the feedback, and just hanging out with us through all the chaos. Oh boy, every episode seems to devolve into the chaos eventually, doesn't it? As a matter of fact, I seem to recall that whenever Sayu first joined us for the Kaguya-sama Love is War episode, towards the end, he was like, oh god, you guys are just like a Kaguya-sama episode. It starts off so normal, and then you just go crazy by the end of it. And yeah, I would have to say that that's actually pretty accurate. Here's to another year of laughs, deep dives, and battling through all the phases together. Can't wait to see what's next. Let's make it an awesome year. Yeah, that's wonderful. And with all of that said and done, friends, I want to thank you again for being a part of this journey. It is a very humbling experience to see that people are tuning in and watching this podcast that started out as me just wanting to share anime that I love with friends. And I would love to hear from you. I want to hear what it is that you're reading, what it is that you're watching, what it is that you would recommend. What is it that you read or watched and it was really great and it really touched your heart? Or what is it that you watched and you didn't understand what all the fuss was about and you want to hear us do our take on it, see if we can figure it out for you. It is something that I am beyond excited to do, and I really hope that you guys will reach out to us. We are on we're on multiple social media platforms. We're on Threads, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. You can find us on each of those at The Battle Phase. Stop by, shoot us a message, leave us a comment on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a comment, leave us a review. Tell us what you think. And again, thank you from all of us here at The Battle Phase to all of you out there. I cannot wait to go through 2025 with all of you, and I hope that you are excited for what's coming on in the future. And again, if you are going to be in the Sacramento area this coming January on the 4th, you can find me and Seikro there. We will be doing a panel for the Battle Phase Live, and we would love to have you come in. We will have an open question and answer round. You can ask us about ourselves, about the podcast, or ask us our opinions about anime, or even, recommend to us your favorites or your least favorites if you want to expose us to that madness. So until next time, everybody, I have been the Midnight Bard. This has been the Battle Phase. Adios. See you in 2025.